When a man has no one but God, the world says he is abandoned. But in the language of the Spirit, that man has just discovered that all the outer supports were illusions, and only one presence was real from the beginning. Perhaps you're listening to this video with a heavy heart, feeling that people forgot you, that your phone has gone silent, that the house is full of objects but empty of voices. Maybe friendships have faded, a relationship ended, family seems distant, or you're surrounded by people and still feel profoundly alone. It is exactly here, in this apparent emptiness, that Joseph Murphy would tell you, you're closer than ever to the greatest turning point of your life. The moment when you feel you have no one but God is often the moment when you finally meet the God that has always lived within you. We have been trained to think that power comes from networking, from contacts, from being surrounded by many people who approve of us. There's a place for companionship, of course, but Joseph Murphy teaches something more radical. Your greatest ally is not outside. It is the infinite mind that thinks through you, breathes through you, lives in you as your own subconscious. When everything else is stripped away, the illusion of separation collapses, and you begin to perceive that your deepest self is not lonely at all. It is connected to an ocean of wisdom and love. Faith and transformative solitude begin exactly here. Joseph Murphy called the subconscious mind the treasury of infinite intelligence. It is the invisible part of you that never sleeps, never tires, never abandons you. While the conscious mind feels the sting of rejection, the subconscious mind quietly waits for new instructions. While your thoughts say, I am alone, I am forgotten, I am finished, this deeper mind simply responds, as you think in your heart, so it shall be. This is why a season of solitude can be so dangerous if misunderstood, and so miraculous if used correctly. In loneliness without faith, a man repeats words of defeat and plants them as seeds in the dark soil of his subconscious. In solitude with God, the same man learns to speak new words, and the same soil grows a completely different life. Have you ever noticed how the silence of an empty room can feel louder than a crowded street? The human nervous system has been conditioned to search for safety in noise, distractions, and constant interaction. When these are removed, the mind panics at first. Science calls it withdrawal from stimuli. Spirituality calls it the desert. In the desert, every voice falls silent except two: the old voice of fear and the quiet voice of God within. Faith is learning which voice to believe. Transformative solitude is the decision to stay in that inner desert long enough for the divine voice to become clearer than the noise of fear. Joseph Murphy would say that God is not a distant being watching your struggle from far away, but the infinite life and intelligence operating as your own subconscious mind. When you say, I have no one but God, you are saying something far greater than you realize. You are saying, all human supports may fail me, but the creative power of the universe, the same power that made galaxies and cells, still beats my heart and breathes my lungs. I am plugged into an endless source. This is not poetry, it is a spiritual law. Every thought you hold with feeling impresses this infinite within you, and what is impressed is expressed. Right now, in your solitude, you may be repeating a very old story. I am not enough. People do not value me. Nothing works out for me. I always end up alone. Those words are not harmless. They are seeds. Your subconscious is like rich soil. It does not argue or analyze. It simply receives and multiplies. If you plant thorns, it grows thorns. If you plant roses, it grows roses. The law of mind does not change because a man is sad, hurt, or disappointed. But when a man discovers this law in the middle of his sadness, everything begins to change. This is the revelation few people understand. Solitude is not a punishment. It is an invitation to reprogram the very center of your life. When no one is around, you are finally free from the constant influence of other people's fears, opinions, and expectations. You are alone with the infinite. You are alone with the creative factory where your future is built, your subconscious mind. Instead of filling that sacred silence with complaints, you can fill it with a new pattern of thought, a new blueprint of life, a new relationship with God that will eventually reflect in new relationships with people. If you believe there's something greater guiding your life, subscribe now and like this video to continue your transformation journey. This simple act is more than a click. It is a declaration that you are choosing a path of awareness, not victimhood, a path of inner power, not inner collapse. Have you noticed how your thoughts shape your reality when you are alone? In the moments when you lie down at night and no one else is there, what sentences do you repeat inside your own mind? If you observe carefully, you will discover your true religion, not the one you declare with your lips, but the one you practice in your inner dialogue. Joseph Murphy would say, "Your subconscious accepts as true what you emotionally feel to be true." So if your heart constantly says, "I am abandoned," the subconscious treats abandonment as your truth and reproduces it in experiences. But if, in that same solitude, you gradually begin to say, "God is with me. I am guided, loved, and supported by an infinite presence," the same law begins to produce very different outcomes. Imagine your solitude as a spiritual workshop. On the table is the blueprint of your future. Every time you sit in silence, you're either redrawing the same old plan or allowing the divine architect within to design something new. You can continue sketching scenarios of rejection and disappointment, where you can mentally rehearse a life where you walk firmly, speak with quiet confidence, attract healthy relationships, and move through the world knowing you are never truly alone. The subconscious does not know the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a physical one. It simply records the pattern and works to manifest it. So in this first part of our journey, let this truth sink deeply. Having no one but God is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of a higher chapter. You are being invited to stop depending on the fragile approval of others and start depending on the unbreakable presence of the infinite within. This is the core of faith and the doorway to transformative solitude. When life takes away many of your supports, it is easy to interpret it as rejection. But seen through the lens of Joseph Murphy's teachings, this same experience can be understood as a radical purification. The law of mind is always at work. Whatever you consistently think and feel, you invite into your life. Many times, we invite confusion because our minds are crowded. We host too many voices, too many opinions, too many energies at once. We become like a radio full of static, try to pick up a clear signal from God and from our own soul, but the channel is jammed. Solitude, especially the painful kind where you feel you have no one but God, functions like a divine filter. It removes the unnecessary frequencies so that only the essential remains. Suddenly, your evenings are quiet. Your weekends are open. Your phone no longer buzzes every few minutes. The ego screams, something is wrong, but the spirit whispers, now at last we can talk. Faith is trusting that this apparent loss is making space for a deeper encounter with the infinite. Joseph Murphy taught that the subconscious is impressionable, like wet cement. During childhood and throughout life, people around you pour beliefs into that cement. You are not good enough. Men like you always struggle. You must prove your value to be loved. These phrases harden into inner walls that shape how you see yourself. Solitude can feel like being locked inside those very walls. Yet, ironically, it is within that same solitude that you gain the chance to rewrite them. Why? Because you finally hear them clearly. When people leave, the echoes remain, and if you pay attention, you can identify which voices are yours and which are borrowed. Have you ever sat quietly and realized that some of your harshest self-criticisms sound suspiciously like things someone else once said to you? A parent, a partner, a teacher, a friend? This awareness is not meant to create blame. It is meant to give you power. Once you recognize that those thoughts were suggestions given to your subconscious, you can begin to give it new suggestions. That is one of the most important gifts of transformative solitude. the chance to become the conscious hypnotist of your own mind instead of remaining under the hypnosis of old wounds. Joseph Murphy often used the image of a captain on a ship. Your conscious mind is that captain. Your subconscious is the crew in the engine room. If, in your solitude, you constantly send down the order, "We are lost, we are unwanted, there is no future," the crew does not argue. It simply obeys. It steers your emotional ship toward people and situations that confirm that order. But if you begin to send new commands, even while your feelings are still learning to catch up, the crew gradually changes direction. Solitude is when you can stand on that mental bridge, look at your life honestly, and decide, from now on, I will give new orders. Think about your own relationship with being alone. Do you see it as a curse to be avoided at all costs, or as a sacred appointment? Joseph Murphy would invite you to consider solitude as a temple, not a prison. In that temple, the rituals are mental and spiritual. You enter through the doorway of silence. You offer on the altar your old fears, resentments, and stories of abandonment. And in return, you receive new beliefs, new images, new inner sentences that align you with the truth that God is with you and within you. Let's make this practical. Imagine you spend a Saturday alone. Instead of numbing yourself with distractions, you decide to sit quietly for a few minutes. At first, you feel restlessness, perhaps a tightness in the chest, an urge to get up and check your phone. But you stay. You watch your breath. You start to observe your thoughts as if they were clouds passing through a wide sky. One thought says, "No one cares about you." Another says, "You always end up like this." A third says, "Nothing will change." Instead of arguing with them, you do something Joseph Murphy recommended. You gently but firmly replace them. You say inwardly, "I may feel alone right now, but I am not without God. The infinite presence is here, closer than my own heartbeat. This solitude is not my enemy. It is my classroom. I am learning to trust the power within me." As you repeat such ideas, you are impressing the subconscious with new patterns. It might still feel strange. Your emotions may lag behind. But remember, the subconscious does not respond to logic alone. It responds to repetition and feeling. The more often you return to these truths, the more they sink in, just as drops of water slowly carve stone. Which thought do you repeat most during the day? And what is it creating in your life? That is not a rhetorical question. It is a spiritual diagnosis. Your dominant thought about yourself, about God, and about your future is constantly at work, whether you are alone in your room or surrounded by people. In solitude, you see it more clearly, and clarity is the first step toward transformation. There's also a mysterious phenomenon that Joseph Murphy and many mystics observed. When a man learns to rest in God during solitude, his outer life begins to reorganize. People who resonate with his new vibration start appearing. Doors open that were previously closed. Opportunities arrive in subtle and surprising ways. It is as if the universe had been waiting for him to stop clinging desperately to the wrong connections so that the right ones could find him. This is not magic in the childish sense. It is the law of attraction operating through the law of mind. Like attracts like, a man who feels abandoned from within tends to attract confirming experiences. A man who, even alone in his room, begins to feel accompanied by an infinite love, starts attracting reflections of that love in the world. Comment, "I believe in divine power," if you feel, even faintly, that this truth is awakening in you right now. That comment is not for the algorithm only. It is for your own subconscious. When you type and see those words, you are sending yourself a message. I choose to believe in something more than my circumstances. I choose to believe that my solitude hides a presence. In this second part, understand this deeply. Transformative solitude is not about isolating yourself forever. It is about using the season you are in to rebuild your inner foundation. It is learning to stand with God so that when people come back in your life, you are no longer needy, dependent, or fearful. You become a man who can love freely because he no longer demands that others be his God. He already walks with God within. Now we move from understanding to practice. Joseph Murphy often spoke of scientific prayer, not as a mechanical ritual, but as a precise way of uniting the conscious and subconscious mind with the infinite presence. When a man has no one but God, his prayers can become either desperate cries rooted in fear or powerful creative acts rooted in faith. The difference lies in the mental image he holds and the feeling he cultivates. Let's imagine a typical night in your life right now. You lie in bed, lights off, your mind racing. Old memories appear. People who left, betrayals, losses, failures. Your chest feels heavy. Your thoughts say, "Why is it always like this? Why do I always end up alone?" From Joseph Murphy's perspective, this is the exact moment to apply scientific prayer. Instead of letting the mind wander in circles, you gently but deliberately turn it toward a new image. You might say inwardly, "Infinite presence within me, I know you are here. I may feel human loneliness, but I affirm that I am not spiritually alone. You are my companion, my guide, my source of wisdom and love. I now accept that this solitude is a sacred time of rebuilding. I release my past. I forgive those who left. I forgive myself. I accept a new life pattern of companionship, purpose, and inner peace." Then, you picture yourself not as a broken man, but as a calm, centered, dignified man, walking side by side with God through the days ahead. You imagine waking up with quiet strength, going through your routine with clarity, talking to people with a new kindness and courage. You feel, even if only a little, what it would be like to live this way. This combination of affirmation, visualization, and feeling is scientific prayer. You are impressing the subconscious with a new blueprint. Instead of repeating, "I am alone, I am rejected," you repeatedly send a message, "I am accompanied by God, I am being renewed, I am guided into new relationships and purposes." Do this not once, but every night, every morning, every time the old story starts playing. The subconscious responds to persistence. Tell us in the comments which area of your life you want to transform. Your word is a powerful seed. When you name the area, your relationships, your finances, your health, your faith, you are focusing your subconscious. You are giving the infinite mind within you a clear direction for its creative work. Joseph Murphy emphasized that faith is not mere emotion. It is a mental attitude of trust in the invisible. You may not feel strong faith at first. You may feel only a weak hope. That is enough to begin. Faith grows through use. Each time you choose to redirect your thoughts from fear to trust, from abandonment to divine companionship, from bitterness to forgiveness, you are exercising the muscle of faith. Scientific studies on neuroplasticity show that repeated thoughts physically change the brain's pathways. Spirituality knew this long before science gave a name. What you dwell on, you become. So how do you live practically when you have no one but God? You begin by building simple daily rituals that anchor your mind in this truth. In the morning, before touching your phone, sit on the edge of your bed and say, "Today, I walk with God. I am guided, protected, and inspired. My solitude is filled with divine presence. I am open to good." Feel those words. See yourself moving through the day under an invisible light. During the day, when waves of loneliness rise, instead of drowning in them, you acknowledge them and then add a new sentence. Even in this feeling, God is here. I am learning to rest in Him. At night, as mentioned, you practice scientific prayer. You might choose a short, powerful affirmation and repeat it softly until you fall asleep, such as, "God is with me and for me. I'm never alone." Falling asleep with these words impresses the subconscious in a particularly strong way, because in that drowsy state, the conscious mind's resistance is lower. The subconscious receives the idea more readily and begins to shape experiences that match it. Have you noticed that many of your most painful choices came from the fear of being alone? Joseph Murphy would invite you to turn this around. When you're no longer terrified of solitude because you know God fills it, you stop clinging to unhealthy relationships, to unworthy jobs, to environments that insult your soul. You become free to say no without panic because your survival no longer depends on human approval. This is one of the most powerful fruits of transformative solitude, inner freedom. Which area of your life do you want to transform first? Is it the way you see yourself as a man? Is it your relationship with God, which perhaps has been distant, formal, or full of fear? Is it your tendency to settle for less than you deserve because you're scared of ending up alone again? Identify it now. Write it down. Speak it aloud. Your clarity is a prayer. In addition to prayer and affirmations, Joseph Murphy often emphasized the importance of acting as if what you believe is already true. If you truly believe God is with you, how would you walk into a room? How would you speak to others? How would you treat your own body, your finances, your time? Start making small adjustments today. Maybe you begin by cleaning your space, organizing your life, presenting yourself with more care, not to impress others, but to honor the presence within you. When you treat yourself as a man who walks with God, you send a strong message to your subconscious. I am worthy of respect from myself and from others. Tell us in the comments which area of your life you want to transform. Your word is a powerful seed. Let that public declaration be part of your scientific prayer. And now, one more invitation. Comment, I believe in divine power, if you are willing to cooperate with the infinite presence in your solitude. Each word you write becomes a gentle imprint on your subconscious, reinforcing the message that you are not alone, that your life is under the care of a wisdom greater than any human mind. We come now to the heart of this journey, the moment when a man realizes that having no one but God is not a season to be endured, but a foundation to be cherished for the rest of his life. People will come and go. Relationships will change. Circumstances will rise and fall. But once you learn to anchor your identity and security in the infinite presence within, you carry an unshakable center wherever you go. That is the true gift of transformative solitude. Imagine yourself in the near future. Perhaps little has changed on the outside. You still live in the same house. Your phone still does not ring constantly. Your circle of people may still be small. But inside, everything is different. When you wake up, instead of feeling the dread of another empty day, you pause and sense a quiet companionship. You say, "Good morning, Father, Presence, Infinite Mind," whatever name your heart uses. You feel, even faintly, that you are not talking to the air. You sense that the very intelligence that keeps your heart beating hears you from within, not from beyond the sky. You move through your tasks with a new dignity. You may still work a simple job, deal with ordinary errands, face challenges. But your inner posture has changed. You no longer see yourself as a discarded man trying to prove his worth. You see yourself as a man in training, walking with God through the details of his day. When something goes wrong, your first reaction is no longer, "Why does this always happen to me?" but "Infinite presence, guide me through this." Little by little, this new inner conversation changes your emotional weather. There are still clouds, but the sky behind them is brighter. Joseph Murphy would say that everything begins in thought. The destiny of a man is shaped not by what happens to him, but by how he interprets and impresses those events upon his subconscious. Having no one but God is a powerful event. It can be interpreted as ultimate abandonment or as ultimate initiation. If you choose the second interpretation, your solitude becomes a doorway into an entirely new life pattern. In practical terms, you begin to live with 3 core convictions. First, I am never alone in spirit. Second, my thoughts and feelings are seeds. What I plant, I will harvest. Third, with God within me, I can create a new chapter regardless of my past. Each time you feel a wave of loneliness, you return to these convictions. You say them aloud if you can. You let them become the new habitual track playing in your mind. Over time, they etch themselves into your subconscious, and their fruit appears in your outer world. Perhaps, as you listen, your mind protests, "But I still want human companionship. I still want a partner, friends, a family." Am I supposed to be satisfied with only God? The answer is tender and simple. God does not remove your human desires. He purifies their foundation. When you truly learn to rest in Him, you stop demanding that people fix your inner emptiness. You can love them freely without clinging. Paradoxically, that is when healthy relationships become more likely, because you're no longer trying to turn another fragile human being into your savior. In Joseph Murphy's language, God and your subconscious are not two separate entities competing for your attention. The divine works through the deepest level of your mind. When you trust this interaction and cooperate with it through scientific prayer, affirmations, visualization, forgiveness, and right action, you are walking with God in the most literal sense. You are aligning your personal mind with the mind of the universe. So, how do you step out of this season stronger, not bitter? You forgive. You forgive those who left, not because they were right, but because you choose not to chain your subconscious to resentment. You forgive yourself for past mistakes, for times you stayed where you were not honored because you feared loneliness more than you valued your soul. You bless your past, saying, "Everything that happened brought me here to this awakening. I release it now." This act of forgiveness is like clearing old debris from a riverbed so the water can flow freely again. Next, you commit to ongoing practice. Transformation is not a one-time moment. It is a daily alignment. You continue your morning affirmations, your nightly scientific prayers, your gentle redirection of thoughts throughout the day. When you stumble, when you catch yourself thinking, "I am still alone, nothing is changing," you do not condemn yourself. You simply notice, breathe, and return to the truth. God is with me. I am learning. My mind is being renewed. You treat yourself with the same patience the infinite shows you. What's the first positive thought you will plant in your subconscious today? Let it be something simple and strong like, "I walk with God and I'm being transformed." Or, "My solitude is filled with divine presence and new beginnings." Or the affirmation that speaks most deeply to you. Speak it now, in your own words. This is not just an exercise. It is the way you begin a new, inner chapter. From the perspective of New Thought and Joseph Murphy's teachings, the story of a man who has no one but God is not a tragedy. It is a sacred script. It is the moment when the character is stripped of all illusions and finally turns inward to discover that the author of his life was seated in his own heart all along. Once he makes that discovery, the rest of the story changes. He may still face challenges, but he does so with a new awareness. He may still cry at times, but his tears fall into hands that he now knows are there. He may still walk alone down human streets, but he walks with a divine companion at every step. Like this video and subscribe to the channel to continue your journey of personal, mental, financial, and spiritual transformation. The power is within you, and each new video is a step to awaken it.